How's it going, everyone? It's always good to see you. This week I'm going to be talking about square neutral density filters. What are these things? Why do photographers use them? And how are they different from the more common circular neutral density filters? All of that coming up in this video. How's it going, everyone? My name is Todd Dominey. I make videos here on YouTube about photography. This week I'm coming to you from the beautiful Sweetwater State Park in the state of Georgia, which is where I live. And I decided that if I was going to make a video about neutral density filters and about what they are and why people use them, this seemed like the perfect place to come out and make a video. For demonstration purposes in this video today, I'm going to be using a filter kit that is made by K&F Concept. This is an all-in-one kit that includes everything you need to start shooting with a neutral density filter. I think this is a really impressive kit, and it comes with the filter holder, and I'm going to talk about how all this stuff works in a minute. A giant box of adapter rings. You can see them all right here. And then last but certainly not least, this filter kit comes with a neutral density filter. And it's rather clever. I'll show you how it works. You flip up this tab here in the front, and you'll notice this orange string that's hanging up here. You pull up on the tab, and the filter comes out of the pouch like that. And the reason that's nice is because then by pulling it up, you can grab onto the filter from the sides instead of how you typically do it, because I have some square filters and some rectangular filters from other brands. Usually when you put these in a filter pouch, you have to reach in and grab onto the edge of the glass in order to pull it out. And if you're not wearing gloves, then you're just gonna get fingerprints all around the perimeter of your glass, which is obviously not a good thing. In the case of this 24-70 Canon lens here, this has an 82 millimeter filter thread on the front. You pull out the 82 millimeter accessory ring then, and then this screws right onto the front of the lens. So now with the accessory ring on, it's time to attach the filter holder. This is the thing that actually holds the glass in front of your lens. This holder has two slots here on the front of it. And what this allows you to do is to stack filters. You can add just one filter, or you can add two filters to the front. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit. But for now, let's add the 10-stop neutral density filter that comes with this K&F Concept kit. So what you want to do is you want to put the filter in the first slot, not the second one, the one that's closest to the glass. That way you get a tight seal between the glass and the front of this frame here, so that no light will hopefully leak in behind the glass. Line it up with the front of the lens, and there you go. The first thing I'm going to do is capture a photo without a neutral density filter. That way you're able to see the difference in the before and after. Now, to capture this is kind of a overcast, partly cloudy day with a bit of sun. Setting the camera to ISO 100 using the aperture priority mode. I have it set to, let's see, an aperture of 5.6, and I'm going to let the camera figure out what it wants to do for shutter speed. And it looks like right now it's going to do 1/125th of a second. So let's capture an image with that. Now, as you can see in that photo, because I'm using a relatively fast shutter speed, the water appears to be almost like frozen in time. You're able to see the texture and detail and things like that are important when capturing, like a still life, like some of these rocks that are around here, but it doesn't really feel like water. And I don't really want that to be a distracting part of the scene. I want that to be smoothed out. So I'm going to add, if I don't break it by hitting it on the camera, I'm going to add the 10-stop neutral density filter to the front of the camera. And now I should be able to shoot at a much slower shutter speed. It looks like now the camera is in aperture priority is saying 5 seconds. So let's give it a go. So as you can see, that really did do the job. I mean, the water is much smoother now. It's honestly, as far as like my own personal taste and preference goes, I think that's probably a little too smooth. it just starts to look a little too pronounced. I don't want to lose all of the texture in the water. I want to keep some of it. All I want to do is just slow down the water a little bit. So what I could do is use a different strength of neutral density filter. I could swap out this 10 stop for like a 6 stop or a 3 stop. But just for the sake of time, what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to raise the ISO on the camera so that the shutter speed isn't quite so slow, to about half a second. So let's see how this looks. So yeah, in my opinion, I think that looks a lot better. Now, obviously, you don't always want to be raising your ISO because that introduces more noise into the image. So what would be better would be to swap out this ND with something not quite as strong as the 10 stop density. And like I was talking about earlier, that way you can maintain that ISO of 100 and you're able to shoot at the appropriate aperture. Right now, it's kind of late in the afternoon and the sky is very bright back here in the background. And when I take a photo, I can see that at the top of the frame, the highlights are starting to blow out up there. Unfortunately, though, if I compensate for that, then the foreground is going to get too dark, and I don't want to mess with that. The only thing I want to edit is that sky. Well, this is actually where having square filters and using a filter setup like this is really so cool and is so much different than using a circular filter. And that is the fact that you can use graduated filters like these in your filter holder right alongside the solid neutral density. Now, the way this works, in case you've never seen one of these before, this is basically the inspiration for the graduated filter tool that you see in Lightroom, in Capture One. It is at its darkest at the top of the glass, and then as it moves down through the glass, it gets slowly lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter to the point where it's pretty much transparent down here at the bottom. You can slide this down into the slot, but you don't have to make it centered like right in front of the lens like that. What you can do is you can just gradually pull it down into your image just wherever you want it to be. So you can raise and lower that filter. Now, I know from experience that these filters are sometimes a little bit of a controversy, I think, because some people don't see the point in using them. Well, the counter argument to that, I think, is that then in order to fix the sky in this image, I would have to bracket my exposure and then blend it as an HDR, which, yeah, I could technically do, but maybe it's just me, but I like to do as much as I can in camera. I like to even out the exposure and get the most ideal single image that I can, especially if I have the means to do it. Now, that doesn't mean, though, that I'm such a purist that I'm only going to take photos with this on. What I've learned from experience is to take some photos with one of these on, take the thing out of the filter holder, shoot some more images without it, maybe do some bracketed HDR shots, just so you have coverage, just so that you have something in the can, so that later you can go back and say, wow, that graduated filter really didn't look very good. I should just do it myself by blending an HDR instead. So, without further ado, I am going to now put this into the filter holder, take another photo, and we're going to take a look at it. One of the things that makes a system like this so useful is the fact that these solid panes of glass, these ND filters here, you can buy them in different densities, and these are much easier to slide in and out of this holder when it's attached to the front of your lens than having to unscrew a circular ND and then screw another one back on. It's just, at least in my opinion, it's so much easier just to slide this thing out, put it back in its case, pull out a different density, put it in here, and then keep shooting. The reason why you may need different densities of NDs is because light conditions are going to change. And so by having different NDs and different densities, you're able to mix and match and use the ones that are appropriate for the light levels in the scene, for the aperture that you're using, and your ISO settings, of course, as well. Now, the other thing I really like about these types of filter holders is the fact that it opens up the opportunity to be using graduated filters like these, which just really is not something that is possible with a circular screw-on filter. And the reason it's not is because of this graduated density that's going through the glass here. Obviously, if this is rotated at the wrong angle, you're going to have darkening coming in from at a strange angle. You want this to be level with the horizon in your shot. So the only way really in order to do something like that is to use a filter holder like this, because once you have the glass in and you have the amount of darkening that you want in your image, then you can just simply rotate the filter holder here on the front so that then this is level with the horizon in your image. It's the kind of thing that I found when you're using these graduated filters, you just kind of have to play around with a little bit and just, watch and look out on the back of your viewfinder, push it all the way down in, move this, rotate this around until the darkening effect seems to be level with your horizon, and then get it where it needs to be and then take an image. But then, as I mentioned earlier, I highly recommend taking this graduated filter back out and taking some shots without the graduated filter as well, just to make sure that you have sufficient coverage and you're not going to get in a situation where this is at the wrong angle or something to that effect. It's just a good thing to do, just to cover your bases and make sure that you're not going to ruin a shot. If you would like to learn more about the K&F Concept ND filter kit that I've been using throughout this video, I will leave a link to it below in the description. Also, while you're down there, there is a special coupon code that K&F Concept was nice enough to give me and to offer to viewers of my channel. So you'll save a little bit of money off the original retail price if you use that coupon that you'll find below in the description. So as always, thanks so much for being here. Thanks for liking my videos, for subscribing to this channel, and just for being supportive and leaving great comments. It means a lot to me, and I enjoy doing this. That's it for me. That's it for Sweetwater, and I'm gonna head home. I'll see you next time.